Hello, everybody, wherever you may be. My name's Larry. My call sign is Kilo 7 Hotel November. Welcome back to my shack. This is Ham Radio Live, show 72. How are you today? It's the 10th of November, 2020. Getting cold here and rainy. It's a little snow in the rain today, actually. It's cold. Hey, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. Please hit the subscribe button as well as the bell icon. That subscribe button is really important. We don't monetize. We do not put ads here. You're not going to see them. I will not put ads on the channel. It's here to help people. My way of helping others. Your way to help me would be to hit the subscribe button. It'll help the channel to be found by others who are looking at a ham radio hobby for a lifetime. We want to be found in that search algorithm. So by you hitting the subscribe button, that would help out greatly. My promise to you, you won't see commercials on this channel. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you today. Don't forget, this Thursday, 2 big shows, big interviews back to back. Starting at 21 UTC, Mr. Eric Schwartz, one of the originators, the founders of Elecraft, will be live with us, taking your questions on everything Elecraft. Got questions on the new K4? Eric will be here to answer your questions. So lots of good stuff coming with Eric from Elecraft at 21 Zulu. So join us. If you're here in the Pacific time zone, by the way, U.S. here in North America, that is 1 p.m. Pacific, all right? Following that show, literally almost bookended, will be Richard Stubbs from MFJ in Mississippi. Yeah, Richard's excited to join us, talk about all things MFJ, Ameritron, Cushcraft, High Gain, the whole MFJ stable. He'll talk to you about antenna tuners, answer your questions about amplifiers, all things ham radio. Richard can answer, and he's a neat guy. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met in ham radio. So join us. That's going to be about 21:45, 21:50, somewhere in that time frame. That show should start. Again, that will be coming up this Thursday. That's November the 12th. Happy Tuesday to all you guys. Glad to see you today. Thanks for being here. We'll be doing questions today on the general exam, plus trying to see if we can make a few QSOs. The repair on the hex beam is complete. We're good to go. Just waiting for a tripod to arrive to make it simple, so yours truly isn't bending over and over and over again. So once we get that set, we should be great. All right, let's take a look at the questions that we have today on the general exam. This is the general exam in the United States currently. First question, which of the following is covered by the National Electrical Code? Now, keep in mind, the reason we do these shows primarily is to get you on the air. We want, if you're interested in making calls and talking to people, whether it be with a microphone possibly or with a computer, hey, ham radio could be the most amazing hobby for your lifetime. You can talk with people in Europe, Australia, all over the world with your ham radio. Did you know that? It is a wonderful hobby, and we would love to have you join us here. Get you on the air. That's the whole point of this channel. You'll have directions below in the description section on how to contact the American Radio Relay League. If you're here in the United States, they'll help you get started by connecting you with a ham radio club local to you and get you on the air. If you're outside the area, you can still contact ARRL. They'll help connect you with one that is closer to you. So again, that's the purpose of the channel. All right, back to the question. First question for the general. This is about the National Electrical Code. And this is the deer that I saw last night, while I was trying to get the show on the air, believe it or not. Making lemonade out of lemons. All right. Which of the following is covered by the NEC? Okay. A, acceptable bandwidth limits. No, that's not by the electrical code. This is the National Electrical Code. Keep that in mind. This is not the FCC. B, acceptable modulation limits. No. C, electrical safety inside the ham shack. Or D, RF exposure limits to the human body. The answer is C, electrical safety inside the ham shack. So when you're making those upgrades, for example, let's say you want to put an amplifier in your shack, okay? You have certain choices you can make, like if you want a linear amplifier, you want to get yourself a tube amp, whatever it might, solid state, whatever. But let's say you've got 110, right? You're on a typical bedroom amp, 15 amp circuit. It's not going to be enough. You're going to be blowing the circuit breaker over and over again. Best thing you can do is to wire that circuit either for, whatever the NEC says you can wire it for, or have an electrician come to your house, do it professionally. Okay. In my case, we're going to put 220 up here. And so that's going to be done by an electrician. The NEC covers all of the things inside your home. So keep in mind when you're using your radio, you're going to be drawing amperage. You add things like the radio, the antenna tuner. You might be adding a noise canceller. You could be adding an amplifier. You put all that on the same circuit, pretty tough to make it work. May need 2 different circuits, in fact, to make it work. So keep in mind, the National Electrical Code is how it is governed, but not the bandwidth, okay? That's an FCC issue. All right, next question. On which of the following bands is a general class license holder granted all amateur frequency privileges? Now, this is really important because it is a question that you have to know before you take the test. Knowing what the band plan is in the United States is really important. And it's not to really intimidate you that, oh my gosh, I got to memorize all these frequencies and bands and all this stuff. No, it has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is understanding to answer this question correctly, because it is a little tricky. All right, first answer given. A, 60, 20, 17, and 12 meters. No, you cannot use all of 20. So A is incorrect. B, 160. Yep, generals can use all of 160. 80. No, they can't use all of 80. 40. Nope, can't use all of 40 either. So you've got a little bit of a hitch there as well. You won't be able to use it, right? So that's a mess. Then you run into 10 meters, which they can use, right? You get on 10 meters and the generals can use the entire 10 meter portion. So B won't work. C is the correct answer. Okay, we'll get to that in a moment. D says 160. Yes. 30. That's another one that you can. 17. Yes, that's true. 12. No. 12. Sorry, 12 is a yes, and 10 is a yes. The problem here, though, is, I'm on D, pardon me. The question here adds 15. On 15 meters in the U.S., generals cannot use from 21.2 to 21.225. So they lose only 25 kilohertz, but keep in mind, they can't use the whole band. So because of that, 12 is out. The answer is C. I'm saying 12. Forgive me, 15 meters. So when you see this one, I've mangled it already, don't mean to, but my point is 15 meters, generals can't use the entire band, okay? So keep that in mind. The frequencies that generals can use are 160, 60, 30, 17, 12, 10, 6, 2, 70 centimeters, 1.25, 33 centimeters, 23 centimeters, and so forth. But the point is, for the HF bands, that's it, okay? You cannot use all of 20 and 40. That's important to remember. That'll help you on this question. If you just remember, you can't use all of 20, all of 40, and all of 15, that will help you. So remember, 20, let's go make it in order. 15, 20, 40. There you go. 15, 20, 40. Those are your big helpers right there. So remember that in the U.S., generals don't get full band privileges on every frequency. Okay? Got a little thing that popped up on my screen. Heavy memory usage. This is what stopped the show from being on yesterday. Heavy memory usage. I'm glad that's not on the test too. Wouldn't that be something? Next question on the general exam in the United States. When is an amateur station permitted to transmit secret codes? This is a kind of interesting question. Secret codes means that they're coding that is used that is meant to not be understood by somebody else. Now, in this case, it isn't a somebody else, it's a something. We've kind of had a variation of this question before. Okay, A, during a declared communications emergency. B, to control a space station. C, only when the information is of a routine personal nature. Or D, only with special temporary authorization from the FCC. The only answer that applies is B, to control a space station. Again, you're not communicating with a thing. I mean, some person. You're communicating with a thing. Okay, secret codes are really against the FCC rules. You cannot transmit coded messages, period. However, if you're transmitting to something to control it, like radio-controlled aircraft, space communications, things like that, yes, then it's okay. But it's not meant to be coded for the human to not understand. I hope that makes sense for you. Didn't mean to make that too confusing, but it is important to understand there is a difference between coded messages which are not allowed between human to human, whether it's digital or voice, versus controlling something. Okay? Next question. What is the minimum age that one must be to qualify as an accredited volunteer examiner? Now, for people who aren't hams, those are our future ham buddies. A volunteer examiner is somebody who gives you your test. There are 3 of them that are needed to be able to certify your exam. So you need 3. And the minimum age requirement in the United States is it A, 12 years old, B, 18 years of age, C, 21 years old, or D, there's no age limit. The answer is B, 18 years old. You can be a VE or a veteran examiner as long as you're 18. Now, this is pretty important. It will come up on tests. Test questions might be, if you're a technician, what classes can you give? Can you be a VE for or a volunteer examiner for, right? Only for the technician. That's it. If you're a general, the only test that you can certify, be a VE for, would be general or technician. If you're an extra, then you can do all 3. But the fact is, you can only be a volunteer examiner for the class you have or less. Good way to remember that, because it will come up in some form on many tests. Please keep that in mind. Okay, my friends? Pretty simple to remember, but keep it in mind, okay? Pretty simple to clear it out. Next question. Why do most amateur stations use lower sideband on the 160 meter, 75 meter, and 40 meter bands? Let's include a little bit more here. We need to, because clarification is important. 160, 80, 60, 40. Those are the bands, okay? But this one only asks you 160, 75, and 40. Remember, 75 is really kind of split up. On many band plans, 75 shows up as 80. In fact, it does on the ARRL band plan sheet, okay? So think of 75 and 80 as near brothers, okay? They're identical twins. They just run into each other, that's all. So the answers given are A, a lower sideband is more efficient than upper sideband at these frequencies. B, lower sideband is the only sideband legal on these frequency bands. C, because it is fully compatible with the AM detector. If only. D, current amateur practice is to use lower sideband on these frequency bands. Okay. Make this simple. Hi, Ward. Good to see you. That's Whiskey 6, Whiskey Delta, one of my buddies. Easiest test to take. It's an open book test. It is. Yeah, don't be intimidated by the FCC exam. Don't. Simple. They give you a little book, has the exam questions in it, and the answers, and we'll help you get those passed, okay? Thank you, Ward, for joining the show today. On this question, look carefully, okay? Lower sideband is current amateur practice. That's all it is. It doesn't make it easier or better to use than upper sideband. There's really no reason other than the fact that it is best to use for the current band plan for amateur practice. That's it. That's nothing else to it. Yes, you can use upper sideband, but you shouldn't, okay? Remember, 10 megahertz is the dividing line. 10 and lower is lower sideband. 10 and higher is upper sideband. If you remember that, you're golden. You'll be able to pass many of the questions on the FCC exam. Okay. Next question. What is the customary minimum frequency separation between SSB? Now for future hams, SSB means single sideband. Okay. Single sideband, no carrier, just a single sideband. So what's the customary minimum frequency separation between single sideband stations under normal conditions? The answer is B, approximately 3 kilohertz. And this is important. And Jim McCusker in Pennsylvania puts it very well. Accepted band edges. Yes, this is very important. For example, let's say you're working on, I don't care, let's pick 40 meters, okay? Just for fun, we'll pick 40. And you receive a CQ call. You hear it. It's from a very remote destination. Let's say it's from Samoa, okay? And you want that call because you need Samoa. You don't have it yet. But it's transmitting at 7.126. Look at the band plan for 40 meters. You can go to 7.125. However, you can't return the CQ call. Lower sideband means you're going to be moving from the center frequency down 3 kilohertz. That means the signal will go from 7.126 to 7.123. That puts it outside of the band plan. So you can't make that call. Keep it in mind, lower sideband and upper sideband do the same thing. Essentially, it's all part of a carrier. You have a carrier, you have 2 sidebands. That's how all radio works. But with ham radio on HF, you only get a single sideband. Works great because you can work a long distance with it. That's why it's so effective. That's part of the reason why only 100 watts can work you 7,000 or 8,000 miles. It's true. There's not much bandwidth there, so you can take it and go a long ways with it. So when you're doing this in this question as given, lower sideband, it's current amateur practice. But remember, watch those band edges. If you're on 20 meters and it's upper sideband, again, take a look at the chart. If you're on 20, the limit is 14,350. If you get a call at 14,350, CQ, this is wherever, okay, and you want to accept it, you can't because you're on upper sideband. Now your signal goes from where your center frequency is to 3 kilohertz above. Now you're at 14,353 and outside of the band plan. You can't do it as much as you might like to. You can't do it, all right? Next few questions on the general. What is the customary minimum frequency separation between single sideband signals under normal conditions? Okay, there's a key couple words here, normal conditions. Now, contesting, we've all seen it. People are jamming anywhere they can to find an open frequency. The answer here that's given, A, between 150 and 500 hertz, that's way too narrow. B, approximately 3 kilohertz. Nope. C, approximately 6 kilohertz. If you're running extended single sideband or AM, yeah, that would work. D, approximately 10 kilohertz. Okay, if you're running AM or, really wide, or FM, sure, you can do that. But, FM actually goes out 100. But the point is, the answer for single sideband is 3 kilohertz. That's the minimum frequency separation. So in this example, if you're, say, for example, let's use 40 meters again. Let's say you're at 7.175 just for a location here, okay? 7.175, and you're broadcasting there. A station should not be within 3 kilohertz of you, okay? That means since they're lower sideband, their signal goes from their center carrier frequency, or their center frequency, I should say, down 3. Okay, so 7.178 would be fine. That's 3 kilohertz. There's good separation. But the problem happens, like what you found on CQ calling on Friday night. We started getting a lot of what's called IMD, intermodulation distortion. That happens when somebody is transmitting too close to where you're transmitting and receiving. What happens is their signal bleeds over into your receive signal. It should never happen. You should leave 3 kilohertz separation always between your signal and someone else, no matter where they are. Okay? That's good. Good advice for you. And it'll help you as well. Next one. Which HF antenna would be the best to use for minimizing interference? A quarter wave vertical antenna, B, an isotropic antenna, C, a directional antenna, or D, an omnidirectional antenna. All right, here we have one antenna that doesn't exist in theory. It does in theory, but doesn't practically exist. That's an isotropic antenna. That's an antenna that exists in free space, nothing around it. There's no elevation. There's nothing. It's literally hanging in space. Okay. So it really doesn't exist, but we use them for reference purposes, okay, for measurement. A quarter wave vertical antenna is an omnidirectional antenna, okay? It's omnidirectional. So that's like D. The answer is C, a directional antenna. Now, it not only minimizes interference on your RX, but it also helps you to transmit better. Because literally what you're doing, it's like the hex beam build we're doing right now on the MFJ 1848, which is an 8-band hex beam, goes all the way from 6 meters to 40. You're literally pointing your signal in one direction, okay? There's about 90 degrees on that little slice, so it's transmitting out 90 degrees one direction. Now, as you get closer to the center, things get stronger, but still, even on the edges, they're great, okay? On the back side of it, you can still receive things, but not as well. You will hear less interference on a directional antenna because you're listening that direction, okay? Only that direction and not all around over here, okay? Omnidirectionals pick up noise from all directions. That's why directional antenna is the correct answer. Yep, it is a good point, Jim. Thanks for adding. It's good to see you today, my friend. Got your house all picked out for you. It's a little joke between my friend Jim and I. We're going to move him here to Oregon. I'd love to be pals with him. He's a good guy. Which of the following is a way to establish contact with a digital messaging system gateway station? Okay, so digital messaging, you're trying to get a hold of the gateway to get into, be able to basically send like a text message via ham radio. The answer is given. A, send an email to the system control operator. Sounds plausible, right? B, send QRL in Morse code. That's not plausible. C, respond when the station broadcasts its SSID, which is like its station identification. That's not correct. Or D, transmit a connect message on the station's published frequency. That is the correct answer. Each one of these internet gateway digital stations has what's called a connect message, okay? And they all have a published frequency, which tells you how it works. This is very important. So if you're going to be using anything with digital messaging, make sure you understand what frequency you're using so you understand how to contact the gateway station so you can establish connection. That's basically all you have to worry about. But some of the questions can be very, very, you get squirming in your chair and you don't want to do that because you don't want to make a mistake, right? Just don't overthink it. I think a lot of folks overthink it and they start to get nervous as to the question's answer. Look carefully at the question. Make sure it makes sense to you. That's number one. If it's overwhelming, skip it. Go to the next question. Answer the questions you're real confident on. Leave the ones that you're not confident on. There is no time limit to take this test. That's important to remember. No time limit. So answer the ones you're confident about. That gives you time to think a little bit about the other ones. Then carefully read the other questions and carefully read the answers. Some of those answers could be plausible, but only one is right. So if you see one question where you really believe firmly that two of them are correct, and D says all of these answers are correct or all of the above is correct, then select D, as long as you know two of them are correct. That's a good way to narrow things down. But don't be overwhelmed with it because truly you can get overwhelmed and nervous taking the test. No time limit. The VEs are kind. They're there for you and they're there to help you. They want you to pass. They do. So please understand that. This is so important. Don't make this test so overwhelming that you're afraid to study for it. You can pass it. I know you can. Hang in there. Let me give you two more questions. We're not into this too late, so let me give you a couple more. What effect does a sudden ionospheric disturbance have on the daytime ionospheric propagation of HF radio waves? Now, to a future ham, this is already way overhead. It's like they're totally confused. Okay, what effect does a sudden ionospheric disturbance have? Okay, when you see the word sudden ionospheric disturbance, the word disturbance means there's a problem. Disturbance means a problem, okay? Remember that. Now they're asking it in specific terms, what kind of a effect does this kind of a disturbance have on the daytime propagation of HF radio waves? Now, again, for future hams or new hams, remember all HF signals, every single one of them, use the ionosphere. There's not one that doesn't. So no matter what, if we're talking HF, now VHF, UHF are different, but HF all use the ionosphere. So what happens if there's a disturbance to the ionosphere? A, it enhances propagation on all HF frequencies. By definition, that's not true because this is a disturbance. Okay? This is a disturbance. B, it disrupts signals on lower frequencies more than those on higher frequencies. C, it disrupts communication via satellite more than direct communication. We're talking about HF. When you're talking about satellites, you're up on VHF, UHF. Doesn't apply. D, none, because only areas on the night side of the Earth are affected. No, that's not true. Okay, the answer is B. It disrupts radio signals on lower frequencies more than those on higher frequencies. Why? Because when the sun is charging the ionosphere, it charges up 3 layers: the F layer, the E layer, and the D layer. The D layer is the one that gets highly charged the most. It's also the one that blocks frequencies that are on lower frequencies from getting through it. Of all the 3 layers, the D layer is the only layer that doesn't help you make long-distance contact. In fact, what it does is absorbs most of your frequency call. If you're, say, on 160 or on 80 or, I don't know, possibly even if you're on 60. I mean, it's kind of an area where it acts like a sponge to your signals, okay? Once you get to 40, it's a high enough frequency to punch through that D layer and get to the reflective E and F layers. So that's why on this question where it talks about a solar, basically it's an ionospheric disturbance. Excuse me, wrong question. When you get to the point where it talks about the sudden ionospheric disturbance, it affects the low frequencies more because the D layer is the most affected by a disturbance to the ionosphere. The D layer is what absorbs the signals. Now on the D layer, 160, 80, and 60 are mostly affected. 40 and up, typically not so much. That's why the answer is the way it is. Okay? Thanks for coming here today. Remember, on Thursday, this Thursday, November the 12th, Mr. Eric Schwartz from Elecraft joins us to answer all your questions about the new K4 as well as all things Elecraft. Then literally, right after that show closes, we open right back up with Mr. Richard Stubbs from MFJ in Mississippi. He'll be talking to you about all kinds of MFJ products, Ameritron amplifiers, the Cushcraft and high gain antennas, all things MFJ. He'll be answering your questions. So if you have a question on maybe an antenna to buy, maybe you want to buy a certain antenna or an amplifier, Richard will help you with that. He'll be here at 2145, maybe 2150 UTC. Eric Schwartz from Elecraft, big name and a huge guy. This guy's the founder of Elecraft. He'll be joining us right on the button at 21 UTC this Thursday, November 12th. Let's take a look at the rig cam real quick, see what's up. 17 meters. By the way, might be a change here in the shack. Good question from Jim, by the way. He says, what show did you do the ICOM interview? That was show 70. And I did that for a reason, Jim. Show 70 was done because 7 is an ICOM number. Look at the numbers, 7100, the 7000, 7300, you get it, right? So I wanted to save 7, the first 7 show for ICOM. That's why. By the way, might be switching rigs in breaking news. Could be going to the 7610 here. Just to compare. I'd love to compare it to the 101, see how it does. I've heard wonderful things about the 7610, so I'd like to be able to give it a run through and see how it does, and maybe it'll be the rig that we use here on the show. We'll find out. It's got to have a screen display. That's the main thing. It's got to move to this HD screen so y'all can see what's going on.
I could not use my antenna that I wanted to, so I had to use a...
Okay, so we'll tune. We'll try and make contact. Again, for new hams or for future hams, you have to tune your antenna. You're not tuning your radio, so to speak. Okay, the radio essentially needs to accept an impedance match with your antenna to a certain level. When we tune an antenna, the radio will tune it at a very low wattage, typically 5 watts. So that signal, that it makes a beep noise, kind of like a test tone or like a Morse code if it was held down, the key, a long beep like that. That's how it tunes. Once it calculates the correct SWR for the lowest amount possible, it's ready to go. So that's when I say tuning the antenna, that's what I mean. Okay, back to the rig. You might notice too, sometimes you might hear the call sign real well and I struggle with it. And again, it's because I hear about a split-second echo in my headphones here. Hold on, let's move over. Just moved a little bit, but I like to tune on frequency. It gets us every bit of power we can out of the antenna. Today's antenna is the high gain AV680 vertical. It's at 33 feet. Hear how much louder it came in now that we've tuned? Kilo 7 Hotel November for a quick one. Added just a little bit of contour to the signal.
I work Japan pretty regular, and I've done some ZLs and stuff. It's kind of this time of day for me.
Japan is JA stations, okay? ZL is New Zealand.
Yeah, so in the mornings, yours pretty easy. And this time of day, until the band shuts down, South America's kind of a chip shot.
Maybe from the southern United States it will be, but not in the Northwest. Nice comment. Looking forward to making this call, hopefully.
Yeah, well, at least you answered me. The rig is FTDX 3000. Yeah, out here on a ranch in South Texas. Kind of
See, Texas, there you go.
Heat amplifier. And yeah, you're 5.9 solid coming off the side of the beam.
K7HN. And when he talks about the side of the beam, he's using a directional beam, like we talked about, to steer your signal a certain way. He can turn his antenna using a rotator to be able to make it come in.
I got it parked on 60 meters.
So he's using a Yaesu FTDX 3000 for his radio. That's an HF through 6 radio, 100 watts. It's a great radio.
But I've never heard any.
991A is a shack in the box. Runs HF, VHF, UHF.
It's not quite as many features as the 3000, but it's a nice radio.
I've had 2 3000s in my life. Love them both. Great radio. If you're looking at a used one, $1,000 maybe, right around there. Could be plus or minus 100 or 2. More on the plus side. More on the plus side. But the point is, great radio. It's got great transmit signal. It's a great receiver as well. Very much a lot of the same features that the 101 has. For example, let me show you real quick while we're waiting for him to finish up. It has what's called a contour feature, which is controlled here on the 101. Now the contour, let me show you in the rig. Contour, listen to the sound. that comes out of the radio once I take the contour off. Hear it? It gets very hashy. Okay, now listen, I'll now bring it a little bit more, of the raw signal on the high end.
Okay, yeah.
Here?
Yeah, my son lives in Virginia Beach, and I used to live in a place called Mineral, Virginia. That's kind of between Richmond and Fredericksburg, out on the lake out there. So I'm sort of familiar with where you are.
Kilo 7 Hotel November. So Jim, yeah, I was between the two as well. I have the 7610 poster on my wall in here.
Yeah.
I also
the band
have...
has shifted. You're about 5'5", so I'm going to call it quits before we lose each other completely. K04ERT, W3WFR.
I'm not sure if he said W3WSR or FR. We'll see. Whiskey 3, Whiskey Sierra Romeo, Kilo 7 Hotel November. Pulled the contour off, and you can see that. Raise the camera up a little bit. When the contour feature's on, it's contouring the...
CQ, Whiskey 3, Whiskey 5, CQ.
Kilo 7 Hotel November. I think someone's already on this frequency, however.
CQ, Whiskey 3, Whiskey Fox Radio, calling CQ.
Oh, he just get... Whiskey 3, Whiskey Fox, Kilo 7 Hotel November. Somebody's been on this frequency for a while, buddy. I'm not going to say anything. I don't like to talk bad about anybody, so I'll let you make your own conclusions there. Whiskey 3, Whiskey Sierra Radio, Kilo 7 Hotel November. Do you copy? Over.
7 station, Florida, November.
Kilowatt 7 Hotel November, QSL.
Kilowatt 7 Hotel November. It's Whiskey 3, Whiskey Fox Romeo.
Jeez. Yeah, QSL, buddy. There was already a couple of stations that were on this frequency. I maybe didn't hear them, my friend. One's in Texas, one's in Zero Land. So we probably better clear this up here. If you want to move, we can do that, but we shouldn't be here.
Okay, I don't hear anyone but you. I've got about a 5-3 and you 4-3. I'll move over.
No worries. We can certainly... Well, hold on a second. Wait a minute. You know what? I probably heard your call wrong. You were just having a call with somebody in the Zero District, right? I was saying you were just having a QSO with someone that was in the Zero District, QSL?
Yeah, K04 ERT. I just finished the QSO.
Gotcha. Okay, I had your call wrong. Please forgive me. You had given your call as Whiskey, I heard W3WSR, but I thought it was WSR. I didn't realize it was Whiskey 3 Whiskey Fox. My apologies, my friend. My name's Larry. My QTH is Independence, Oregon, located about 65 miles southwest of Portland. I do a YouTube show called Ham Radio Live to teach people about ham radio and bring them into our hobby. It is really nice to meet you. Thanks for taking the call.
A little hard to hear you, but I got it. K7HN, W3WFR. We're in South Texas, right down by the Mexican border. I've got a hex beam pointed pretty much your direction because I was looking for some Japanese guys. And the rig, the ACS 3000, I'm running about 900 watts today.
QSL, it's a great rig. I've had two of them. I've loved them. I'm on a Yaesu 101 Mike Papa. We're at 200 watts. You're about a 5.7 here into Oregon. Nice signal.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, like I said, you're 4.3, 5.3, steady above the noise, mostly okay copy. The band shifts in and out a little bit right now this time of day. That's why I was trying to get out west.
Hear him fading. That's what he's talking about.
I can always get South America, but I'm normally able to work Japan most days.
QSL, yeah, I made a call to JA last night on 40. So, yeah, it's definitely available. 17's opening up. That's great news, right? Getting some sunspots out there. Look, I won't hold you. I know you're trying to work some DX. I appreciate you taking the call. I'll send you a copy of the show to your QRZ email. Whiskey 3, Whiskey Fox, Kilo 7, Hotel November. All the best from the Northwest. God bless you, brother.
Whiskey 3, Whiskey Fox Radio. W3WFR. You're leaving the R off the end. 73 K7HN, Whiskey 3, Whiskey Fox Radio. See you later.
Whiskey 3, Whiskey Fox Radio. Thanks for the correction, QSL. Thanks. We're going to go QSY. Kilo 7, Hotel November, clear.
Lima 7, Uniform Papa.
All right, so there's 17, and it's working good. So 17's fine. We're at 40 minutes into the show. 1 is enough at 40. Thank you very much for being here. I'm going to make a little noise there. Sorry. We're going to pull that plug, little ground loop here. We're working on that. The folks from Palomar Engineering spoke with Bob there, by the way, this weekend, and actually Monday, and had a nice conversation with him. Bob is going to come on the show talking about chokes and all kinds of things Palomar, including their amplifier series. Going to be a good show. Should be coming up next week. We haven't clarified all of that yet, but he's going to be sending me one of his RF kits so we can make sure and clear all this noise out. That'll be good. Yep. 7610, by the way, let me get your questions. Jim McCusker out of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania says the 7610 was his top choice till the 101 came out. I think they're pretty close. I think it's kind of two ways to bake a potato, to be honest with you. It's kind of like they both do the same thing, but differently. One's a hybrid SDR, which is the 101. One is a direct sampling SDR, which is the 7610. I'd like to see the difference and practically use both of them and then make it a direct comparison between the two. I don't know if I want to do that on the show so much, but be able to use it on the show to see how it works in comparison to the 101. That'd be kind of fun. So that's what the hope is here on the channel. We'll see how that goes, and that's a few weeks at least away. Part of how that's happening, by the way, is I was hit by a car back in June, I was hit, and it's part of the settlement. That's to be honest. So my wife insisted, you're going to get something for your ham radio shack. Okay, so there you go. We'll be back tomorrow, talk about questions on the technician exam, try and help you pass that one, as well as a review so far as we've worked on building that new MFJ 1848 hex beam. Going to be pretty cool. That'll be tomorrow. It should be at 1 p.m. Pacific. That will be at 21 Zulu. So please join us live on the channel. Also on Thursday, don't forget Eric Schwartz, one of the founders of Elecraft, live here on the channel. He'll be coming here to talk about all things Elecraft, including that brand new K4. Oh, is that going to be a good show? Following that, we'll close that show out, then come right back immediately with Mr. Richard Stubbs from MFJ. MFJ, they've got a big stable of products. The largest ham radio manufacturer in our world today is MFJ. They also have a ton of other product lines underneath the MFJ umbrella, like Cushcraft and High-Gain and and the Ameritron line. So if you have questions about amplifiers or antennas or antenna cancelers, whatever, they'll be able to help you because they sell just about everything except for radios. The way to make your radio sound better, MFJ can help you do that. Richard will be here to help you with those answers. That'll be Thursday about 21:45, 21:55 in that little slot. That's 21:45, 21:55 Zulu on Thursday, November 12th. Until next time, everybody, thank you for watching. It's my honor and privilege. Please hit the subscribe button. Do that for me, will you? I don't monetize the channel. You won't see a single commercial here. My hope is to make it easy for people to get their ham radio license. You can help me by subscribing so those people can find the channel. Until next time, God bless you. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you soon, everybody. Goodbye.